Discover the incredible hidden benefits of ginger for life-changing sleep in just 2 nights. Mia wiped the sleep from her eyes, the sun barely a whisper on the horizon. She was already at the local diner, pouring steaming coffee into chipped mugs that had seen better days. One coffee, black, called Mr. Thompson from the end of the counter, his voice a familiar echo of the morning routine. She smiled, a weary but genuine grin, masking the fatigue that clung to her like a second skin. Each day started before dawn, a relentless cycle of sleepless nights and draining days. Her 2 young children waited at home, their laughter something like sunlight in her dimmed world. Mia wasn't just serving coffee. She was serving hope and resilience. But her own dreams felt like drifting clouds, always just out of reach. The diner was the heart of the town, where stories were traded like currency, and every cup of coffee held the weight of someone else's struggles. Yet, Mia felt like a shadow, an outsider in a life that should have been hers. As she poured coffee, a nagging pressure built within. The quiet despair was becoming a constant companion, tightening her chest. Just as she thought the weight would crush her, gliding into the diner with a sprightly step was Mrs. Reynolds, the town's beloved grandmother. "Mia," she offered brightly, handing her a small, velvety bag. "You need to try this ginger. It will help you sleep at night." Mia hesitated, but curiosity sparked a flicker of hope. What if this was the simple remedy she needed? That night, she boiled the ginger, sipping the sweet, spicy liquid under a blanket of stars. Relief washed over her as she finally drifted into slumber, the first peaceful sleep in months. But the calm was shattered when news broke about the factory closure. The whispers buzzed like the flickering neon lights outside. Tales of unemployment and despair swept like wildfires through the community. Mia felt an electrifying jolt of fear course through her. This was not just about her anymore. Her neighbors, her friends, all faced an uncertain future. "Where will we go?" someone cried, breaking the fragile hope that Mia had just started to build. The room hummed with tension. A sense of urgency gripped her heart. Did she stay loyal to her hometown or seek a fresh start elsewhere? The weight of decision pressed heavy upon her chest. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Mia inhaled deeply, realizing this was her moment. She could either step back into the shadows or rally her neighbors to fight for their livelihoods. The stakes were high, and tension swirled in the air. "We can't let fear win," she proclaimed, her voice shaking but fierce. She looked into the faces, seeing her own uncertainty mirrored back. But as she spoke, hope sparked in the room, igniting a shared determination. This was her community. This was her chance. In the flickering light of possibilities, Mia felt a renewed sense of purpose. Could she lead them? Could they all rise together? As uncertainty lingered like a storm cloud, one question remained. Would loyalty to her community be her anchor or her anchoress weight? Would Mia's desire for change propel her forward, or would the ties of her small town ultimately hold her back? The air crackled with anticipation, setting the stage for the choices that lay ahead. Mia stood before the crowd, their anxious faces lit by the soft glow of hanging lights. She took a moment, letting the silence stretch, searching for the right words. "We've built something beautiful here," she began, passion flooding her voice. "This diner, our homes, our friendships, these aren't just places. They're part of who we are. We can fight for that." The murmur of agreement rippled through the listeners, a wave of shared determination. Old Mr. Thompson, usually so quiet, nodded fervently from his seat. "We've weathered storms before, Mia. This is not the end." The room felt electric, each heartbeat echoing the sentiments shared. She could sense the shifting currents of hope surging like a breeze that might just lift them up. Mia took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "Let's form a committee, meet regularly, and brainstorm ideas to keep our jobs alive. Together, we can approach the factory about alternatives." As she spoke, Mia saw glimmers of interest in her friends and neighbors, the beginnings of the fire that could unite them. Yet, Just as the energy climbed higher, doubt crept in. Could they really turn this tide? She raised her hand slightly, inviting thoughts. What if we advocate for a community project? Something to draw new businesses in. We could create a local market. A festival. The ideas flowed as freely as coffee in the diner. Laughter and encouragement sparked conversations, igniting a collective imagination. Yet in that light, Mia felt a shadow of doubt creeping into her mind, whispering questions that ricocheted through her heart. What if they didn't succeed? What if they lost everything? Pushing the thoughts aside, she focused on the hope blooming around her. "Let us get together tomorrow evening," she suggested, locking eyes with Mrs. Reynolds, who had always been a beacon of inspiration. "Everyone here has skills, talents we can use. Let us strategize." As the meeting wrapped, Mia felt lighter. The community had rallied. That night, as she tumbled into bed, a sense of calm enveloped her. She allowed sleep to pull her in, cradled by the belief that together they'd forge a path forward, but dawn shattered the peace. The next morning, Mia's phone buzzed furiously on the nightstand, a sharp contrast to the quiet of her home. She shot up, instinctively reaching for it. "Have you seen the news?" A frantic voice crackled through the speaker. It was Lily, her close friend. "The company just announced they're sending in representatives today. They want to meet with the town's leaders." A rush of adrenaline surged through Mia. "Leaders?" she echoed. She felt her heart racing. "What do they want?" "Cuts. Layoffs. They're not coming here to save us, Mia." Lily's voice trembled. "They want to cut costs, and if we don't stand up now, they might walk all over us." Mia's mind raced, the twisted path of reality feeling increasingly urgent. The town meeting had been mere preparation for a fight, but this was a full-on battle. She grabbed her jacket. "We need to get everyone to the town hall. Rally the community. We can't let them just take away our future." Fueled by fear, determination surged in her chest like wildfire. Now, every second counted. As she sprinted out the door, questions and doubts swirled. Would the town come together again? Would there be strength in their numbers when faced with a corporate giant? With the sun rising behind her, Mia felt that she didn't just have her own hope to fight for. She had an entire community waiting for her to lead. Could she truly be the spark that ignited a revolution within the town? The answer pulsed in the air, thick with anticipation. Today would be a day of reckoning. Little did Mia know, this confrontation would test her resolve in ways she never imagined. Mia bolted down the street, the cool morning air nipping at her skin. The town hall loomed ahead, a symbol of authority and community wrapped in one familiar building. As she approached, the sun broke through the clouds, casting a warm glow over the place that had seen countless debates, joyous gatherings, and now, perhaps, their fiercest battle. When she burst through the doors, the buzz of conversation enveloped her like a warm embrace. Familiar faces turned her way, eyes wide with concern and curiosity. "Mia," called out Mrs. Reynolds, standing near the front with her hands clutching a worn notebook, filled with ideas she had surely drafted over sleepless nights. "What is going on?" "We heard the company is coming." Taking a deep breath, Mia knew this was her moment. "We need to gather everyone, residents and workers alike. We can't let this go down without a fight." The room fell silent as her words sank in, the weight of the situation pressing down on all of them. Slowly, heads nodded in agreement. Mia felt a flutter of hope. Here was her community, ready to rally again, and she was ready to lead them. In minutes, they were gathered in a circle, hearts racing and minds whirling with strategies that bounced off each other like gravity-defying sparks. Mr. Thompson spoke up, his voice stronger than Mia remembered. "We have to present ourselves as a united front. Show them we're not just numbers on a spreadsheet." "That's right," chimed in Lily, standing shoulder to shoulder with her. "Let us share our stories. Show them what we stand to lose." Murmurs of agreement punctuated the air, pride and fear intertwining, igniting the room with a palpable energy. As they prepared, Mia felt the pressure of leadership settle heavily on her shoulders. She closed her eyes, imagining what it would feel like to walk into that meeting, to not just represent herself, but everyone, their struggles, hopes, and dreams. The thought quickened her heartbeat. Then, a hush fell over the crowd as the mayor entered the room, flanked by the company representatives. The atmosphere shifted, tension thickened the air like smoke. Mia could see unease ripple through those gathered, the stakes rising higher with each moment. The mayor cleared his throat. Thank you for coming. We all know why we're here. Just like that, the formality of politics kicked in, and Mia felt the urgency stirred deep within her. Now is our chance, she whispered to Lily, squeezing her hand, drawing strength from their bond. Let us make sure they hear us. One by one, members of the town stood up, sharing their stories. Stories of hard work, of family legacies tied to the factory. Tales filled with laughter, tears, and the hope of everyday lives intertwined with the community spirit. Each voice came together like notes in a symphony, building an anthem of resistance that echoed off the walls. But as the last story was told, Mia felt a flicker of doubt. Would they really listen? Would these heartfelt stories matter in the face of cold, corporate decisions? The representatives exchanged glances, the indifference on their faces like chilled wind on a summer's day. Just as Mia felt the weight of defeat creeping in, a voice cut through the atmosphere, sharp and clear. You think you can come here and dictate our future? It was Mr. Thompson again, rising taller than ever. We are a community. We deserve better than to be pushed aside. His words hung in the air, a rallying cry that surged through Mia's veins. Hope flared once more, reminding her of the powerful collective they had constructed. But the looming uncertainty still cast a shadow. Would this resolve be enough to shift the tides? And what if they weren't heard? As she glanced around at the faces emblazoned with determination, she felt the urgency ramping up. A storm was brewing, and it wasn't just coming from the representatives. Together, we are not powerless. We can make a difference. Mia shouted, her voice igniting the crowd. It was time to show everyone that their collective resolve was an unstoppable force. Yet, as the representatives began to speak, Mia couldn't shake the growing tension in her chest. What if their words were empty? What if their plans were already set in stone? Today, she thought, this is just the beginning. What revelations awaited them as they stepped deeper into this fight? Would they uncover unexpected allies within the very walls that seemed so formidable? And just like that, the quest for justice sparked anew, leaving Mia with one burning question. Was she ready for the battle that lay ahead? Mia's heart raced as the representatives took their seats, their polished faces betraying nothing. Under the glaring lights of the town hall, she could sense an invisible wall between her and the corporate folks who held the fate of her community in their hands. Each second felt like an eternity, the weight of the moment pressing against her chest. The mayor cleared his throat once more, and Mia leaned in, every fiber of her being stretching toward the words that would come next. We're here to hear your concerns, he announced, but Mia noticed the slight twitch at the corners of the executives' mouths. They were not here to listen. They were here to negotiate. The first representative stood. We appreciate your passion, she began, her tone smooth like silk but lacking warmth. However, our plans are well underway. Changes are necessary for the efficiency of the factory. We want to assure you that any transitions would be handled with care. Mia felt a flicker of anger rise within her. Efficiency? That was code for cutting jobs. She shot a glance at Mr. Thompson, who was already shaking his head. We're not asking for assurances. We're asking for respect. He interjected, his voice resonating through the room. These are not just numbers. We are families. We are history, and we have a stake in this. The representatives exchanged a few words back and forth, their casual demeanor startling in light of the gravity of the conversation. Mia clenched her fists, her nails pressing against her palms. This was it. The battle lines were drawn. Lily squeezed her hand, giving her an encouraging nod. This is your moment, Mia, she whispered, taking in a deep breath. Mia stood taller, feeling the weight of every gaze in the room fixated on her. Time moved differently here, and as she opened her mouth to speak, she could almost feel the power ripple through her. I'm not just here to plead, she declared. I'm here to demand that you recognize us. We are the backbone of this community, and a factory without its workers is just bricks and machinery. I grew up here, she continued, her voice steadying. My parents worked in that factory, and now I'm proud to serve in the same place. But if you take this away, you won't just be closing a factory, you'll be unraveling lives. You'll be breaking families, and for what? Profit margins? The crowd stirred. Heads nodded in solidarity. For the first time, Mia sensed a crack forming in the representative's armor. Change can be hard, yes. But we can find common ground, she pressed. Let us think outside the box. Why not explore ways to innovate that will keep our town's heart beating, not just its factory operational? You could invest in us, in our community. A murmur of agreement swept through the audience, like a wave cresting higher and higher. But before the representatives could respond, a hand shot up from the back of the room. It was Mrs. Reynolds, her notebook clasped tightly to her chest. I have an idea, she shouted, her voice trembling with a mixture of nerves and excitement. What if we host a community event? Involve everyone, showcase our skills, make it about unity, show you what we can achieve together. At once, a flurry of voices echoed around the room. Yes, a fair, a festival. We can show our talent. The energy shifted in the room, igniting a fire of inspiration that warmed Mia's chest. Mia felt her heart lift as each suggestion added fuel to the flames. This was more than a fight for their jobs. It was about setting the foundations of collaboration, a partnership they could build on together. Yet, at the back of her mind, doubt hovered. What if the representatives dismissed this as foolishness? In that moment, she realized that the fight for their future was more than just words. It was about courage, embracing the uncertainty together. We will present this idea, Mia shouted, confidence slicing through her doubts. And we'll show support is not just a gesture, it's our lifeblood. The representatives shifted slightly in their seats, hinting that maybe, just maybe, they were beginning to feel the pressure. As the meeting continued, Mia's conviction burned brighter, her heart growing strong with every voice that joined in the chorus. And though she felt the shadows of uncertainty loom ever closer, she knew they were not alone. But in the back of her mind, one question lingered. If they pursued this path, would they uncover how deeply they could connect, or would the harsh realities of corporate interests sever their newfound aspirations before they could take root? The room buzzed with energy as ideas flowed freely from the crowd. Mia stood tall, her heart thrumming in her chest. There was something electric in the air, a sense of hope lighting up the faces of her neighbors. They were driven by a shared goal, a common dream to protect their community. Each suggestion, each cheer echoed the urgency of their cause. It became clear that they weren't just fighting for jobs. They were fighting for their identities, for a future that recognized their worth. Mrs. Reynolds, still standing in the back, caught Mia's eye, and for a moment, they exchanged a silent promise. They were in this together. Gathering each ounce of courage, Mia stepped forward to the makeshift podium, her palms resting on the edges. She could feel the warmth radiating from the crowd, encouraging her to pour everything she had into the moment. Let us not just make this a festival or a fair, she proposed passionately. Let us make it a celebration of who we are. We can honor our skills and showcase our stories. We'll invite everyone, the artists, the builders, the teachers, every person who makes this community what it is. A ripple of enthusiasm surged through the audience, nods of agreement punctuating the air like bullet points. Mia could see the representatives shifting in their seats, a flicker of uncertainty finally betraying their icy composure. The idea of love, community, and courage was weighing heavily upon them, and it started to crack the facade of corporate bravado. The mayor cleared his throat to call for order. Now, let us hear what our representatives think, he said, trying to steer the momentum. The first representative stood again, attempting to reassert control, but her voice was lacking the usual confidence. While we value community spirit, such events require funding, organization, and cooperation from both sides. Then let us talk cooperation, Mr. Thompson implored, his voice steady and authoritative. Show us how we can make this work. We are willing to organize this, to do the groundwork. You could provide support. We could raise the visibility of the factory's positive impact on the town. Murmurs of support rolled through the crowd again, gathering volume. More and more voices joined in with ideas of how to secure partnership, funds, and attention, but one voice rang clearer than the rest. Lily, always the practical one, spoke up. We need to create a compelling presentation. Show how this event is not just good for us, but for them. Mia's heart leaped as she considered the implications. If they showed the representatives the profound connections of their community and the factory's role, maybe they could sway them. Because ultimately, every person in that room had something to prove. They were workers, but they were also dreamers and fighters. Yet, even as the excitement poured through her, a shadow loomed in the back of her mind. What if the horror stories of corporate might persisted? What if their attempts went unnoticed, drowned out by profit margins and bottom lines? She couldn't ignore the feeling that the fight was only just beginning. Breathless with determination, Mia turned to address the crowd. If we dedicate ourselves to this, if we show them our passion, we can turn the tide. They can't ignore us if we rise together. Cheers erupted, but as she looked toward the representatives, she saw the wariness in their eyes. The unknown lay ahead, filled with possibilities that both inspired and terrified her. As the meeting began to draw to a close, the mayor encouraged everyone to start brainstorming how they could transform their ideas into reality. The eager chatter mixed with her worries, a cacophony of hope and fear. But as Mia stepped away, the lingering question weighed heavily on her heart. Could their unity be enough to ignite real change? Or would the obstacles strewn in their path suffocate their aspirations before they could even take flight? The days that followed the meeting were a whirlwind of activity. Mia found herself caught between excitement and anxiety. Every time she turned a corner in the community center, she spotted familiar faces, friends, neighbors, each fueled by the same spark she had witnessed that evening. They'd formed committees, each one aiming to tackle a different aspect of their ambitious project. Fundraising committee meeting tonight, Mr. Thompson announced as he passed by Mia on his way out the door. His energy was infectious, and she felt the hope swell inside her once more. They were doing this. They were really doing this. As she headed home, Mia's mind raced with ideas. What should they prioritize? How could they showcase their collective spirit? The sunset painted the sky a vibrant orange, mirroring the warmth in her heart. She hurried through the door, recognizing that she'd need a clear plan if they were to impress the representatives. In the quiet of her living room, she spread out papers and notes across the table, mapping out ideas. She envisioned stalls filled with handcrafted goods highlighting local artisans, stages for performances showcasing talent, and booths sharing stories from factory workers and their families. It wasn't just about the factory. It was about them, their lives, their dreams. But as she scribbled furiously, a flicker of doubt crept in. What if they put their hearts into this only to have it dismissed? The fear of failure shadowed her enthusiasm, and she closed her eyes, feeling the weight of the world pressing on her shoulders. Get a grip, Mia, she whispered, shaking her head. This is for us. The words reminded her of the promise with Mrs. Reynolds, the communal strength they were building. No more backing down. This was their opportunity. Meanwhile, at the weekly meeting, laughter echoed as ideas bounced off one another. Each person's excitement was contagious. Lily stood up, brandishing a poster filled with ideas. What if we incorporate a storytelling hour? She suggested. Let people share their experiences with the factory. Show the emotional ties and the memories created through work. Mia's heart raced as she watched the crowd light up at this suggestion. It presented an emotional core to their initiative, encapsulating the essence of who they were. The youngsters gathered around Lily, urging her to jot down even more ideas. The energy was palpable as they brainstormed. Mia noticed the representatives, seated at the back, observing quietly. Their faces remained impassive, but Mia could sense their curiosity piqued. For the first time, there was a different kind of weight in her heart, not fear, but determination. The meeting wore on, voices layered over one another. Someone proposed a people's parade, a walking advertisement of sorts for the festival. Others cheered in agreement, adding ideas for costumes and floats. Mia found herself swayed by the enthusiasm, the way it rippled through their shared space. As conversations spilled into laughter and animated exchanges, a piece of paper slipped out from under a neighbor's chair. It caught her eye. Written carelessly were the words, "Don't hold back. They can't take your passion." Mia's breath caught. Who knew how much her community longed for this? Fire ignited within her, the kind that turned promises into reality. But just as hope bloomed, Mia's phone buzzed violently. She fished it out of her bag, and her heart sank when she saw the message. Urgent meeting tomorrow. Non-negotiable at the corporate office. This was at the moment that could change everything. Would they allow the community's voices to be heard or silence them once more? She felt a knot in her stomach. The stakes were higher than ever. Wiping her brow, she turned to the others. Their laughter faded, replaced by serious expressions. We need to be ready. She spoke, conviction threading through her words. This was their time. If ever there was a chance for unity, it was now. As the meeting drew to a close, they stood together, arms linked in solidarity, ready to take on the challenge ahead. But, still, a question loomed like a heavy fog in Mia's mind. Could their passion withstand the pressure, or would corporate wheels grind them into dust? Everything hinged on tomorrow. Morning light crept through Mia's window, but it felt like an eternity before she could pull herself out of bed. The message from last night echoed in her mind, a constant reminder of the meeting that lingered just hours away. A surge of anxiety mixed with a flicker of hope dropped into her stomach. Today stood as a pivotal moment not just for her, but for everyone who had poured their hearts into this initiative. In the kitchen, she brewed a pot of coffee that smelled so rich it almost felt like a hug. As the caffeine kicked in, Mia's resolve strengthened. "You can do this," she muttered, playing the day's events in her head. She pictured the boardroom filled with corporate suits, their authority intimidating, but also the vibrant faces of her friends, all of them ready to fight for their community. She glanced out at the street filled with neighbors heading to the center for the biggest day of their lives. The energy was electric, palpable even from behind her window. Mia grabbed her bag, tightened the straps, and stepped outside, ready to join in their momentum. The community center, a gathering buzzed with excitement. The atmosphere was alive with bright smiles and tangled conversations. When Mia stepped inside, Lily rushed over, her eyes gleaming with determination. "Did you see the banner we made? It looks incredible." Mia slid to a stop, her heart warming at the sight of their handcrafted banner sprawled across the wall, each letter bursting with colorful paint. "It's beautiful, Lily," she exclaimed, feeling that spark of hope again. As people filtered in, Mia felt the tension rise. The whispers transformed into discussions, and the excitement in the room blended with a simmering undercurrent of anxiety. Mia knew they all felt at this pressure that could either lift them to success or crush their dreams. Soon, they formed a circle, and everyone held hands. In that tight-knit group, Mia could sense their collective heartbeat. "Okay, everyone," she began, her voice steadying. "Today we share our stories, and we let them hear the truth about who we are." A chorus of affirmations surrounded her. One by one, they began sharing personal experiences, how the factory wasn't just a place to work, but a gathering point for memories, families, dreams, and aspirations. Each voice built upon the last, creating a beautiful tapestry of their shared history. As Mia listened, warmth flooded her veins. The energy surged. They weren't just fighting for themselves anymore. They were forging a voice for their entire community, a beacon of unity. She eyed a few representatives who had quietly slipped in and taken seats at the edge of the room. They observed, taking notes, but Mia could feel the curiosity stirring within them. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw Mr. Thompson raising his hand. "Let us not just tell them our stories, let us show them who we are," he said, a glint of fervor in his voice. "We need to prepare a presentation that captures our spirit, our heart, and our passion." Mia's heart soared. This was the turning point. They would not just speak, they would showcase their very essence. Ideas flowed again, a mix of presentations, videos of past factory events, and snippets of community life. But then, as another committee member suggested a powerful finale, Mia's excitement dimmed slightly. What if they still don't listen? What if we pour everything into this, and it's not enough? The room was silent, all eyes now on her. That knot returned, tightening. They looked to her, as if expecting strength. What if she started but quickly shifted? "No, this is about us. We're bigger than our fears." The group erupted into applause, that simple echo fueling her once more. A shadow of uncertainty melted away, and she knew together they could stick to their promise. Minutes later, just before the representatives entered the main hall, Mia took a deep breath. Her heart thumped, and she could feel adrenaline coursing through her. "Remember why we are here," she called out, confidence bursting in her voice. "We're not just presenting, we're sharing our life." As Mia led the group into the hall, the air felt thicker with anticipation. She glanced at her friends, their expressions reflecting her own determination. Today would reshape their future. But just as she prepared to step forward, she caught a glimpse of the corporate representatives whispering amongst themselves, a dark cloud of uncertainty hovering over them. What would their reaction be? Could they handle the wave of passion headed their way? Everything was about to change. Mia felt a rush of energy as she stepped onto the polished floor of the main hall. The air was thick with anticipation, and she could see the representatives huddled together, their suits sharply contrasting with the vibrant colors of the community's banners. Each hopeful face behind her offered another layer of strength, and for a moment, they were a fortress of shared dreams. "Let us do this," she whispered to herself, straightening her back. With a firm grip on the presentation notes, she tried to silence the buzzing doubts in her mind. No, today was for them. Stories would ignite feelings, feelings would inspire change, and change was exactly what they needed. As they positioned themselves in front of the representatives, Mia noticed a flicker of skepticism in one of their eyes. It made her heart race, but instead of letting it weigh her down, she took a deep breath. "Remember, our stories, our lives depend on it," she reminded herself. The room quieted, and Mia opened her mouth, ready to begin. But it was Lily who stepped up first, her voice clear and passionate. "We remember the laughter, the tears, the moments spent together at the factory. It's where we became a family." Each word drew the room closer, capturing the essence of their tight-knit community. One by one, her friends delivered their truths. Each narrative was woven with emotion, touching memories that unfolded like petals in springtime. They spoke of the school productions, the holiday parties, and the friendships forged over countless shifts, each tale a thread in the vibrant tapestry of their shared existence. Mia watched as the representatives leaned in, their pens scratching feverishly against paper. This was good. Their stories were connecting, building a bridge none could ignore. Just as Mia felt a surge of hope, an unexpected hand shot up. It was one of the representatives. "This is all very heartwarming. But how does this translate to profit for the company?" The question stung, drawing a collective intake of breath from the community behind her. Mia's heart dropped for a moment. The joy of sharing rapidly replaced by a weight of despair, but Mr. Thompson stepped forward, unfazed. "Profit isn't just about numbers. It's about value, what we bring as a community. When our factory thrives, so do our families and our city." Mia's heart picked up again as she sensed the energy shifting. With Mr. Thompson's words echoing in her mind, she expanded, "Exactly. We aren't just workers, we are passionate people who show up every day to give our best. When we win, the company wins. Investing in us means investing in a future where everyone thrives." As the tension shifted in the room, a soft murmur began. The representatives exchanged glances, and Mia could see their expressions softening. They were listening. Minutes passed, filled with discussions, back-and-forth questions, and moments of tension. But an unexpected shift laid itself bare. A twinkle of recognition sparked in their eyes, that perhaps this community wasn't just a statistic or a liability. Maybe they could be partners in something wonderful. After what felt like a lifetime of heartfelt connections and burgeoning trust, the group reached their finale, a powerful presentation that distilled all of their stories into a single message. "Together, we can make magic happen." Mia felt a swell of hope fill her chest as laughter erupted into applause. But her heart still thudded heavily. Would it be enough? Just as she was about to ask for questions, the lead representative raised a small flag, signaling for silence. Mia held her breath. "We need some time to consider what we've heard today." The room froze. Time stood still. Mia looked at her friends, excitement mingled with apprehension and uncertainty. "Can we trust them?" Someone whispered from the back. "I feel like we made a real impact," Mia replied. Though concern clouded her expression, as discussions swirled around her like autumn leaves. One question echoed in her mind: had they truly made a change? Would their voices be enough to alter the course of their lives? Mia would have to wait. But one thing was certain. They had shared their hearts, and the next step was now out of their hands. What would the representatives decide? Would they recognize the power of community? Mia stood on the edge of a precipice, her mind racing with possibilities. The representatives' decision hovered over them like a storm cloud. It felt surreal, everything they had poured into this presentation, the sweat of their efforts, the raw emotions, all crystallized in this moment of uncertainty. Around her, the excited chatter of her friends mingled with their own doubts. Mia could hear snippets of conversation, plans for the future, dreams of growth, wishes for change. Each voice held a flicker of hope, a light in the enveloping darkness. Yet those flickers were doused by the lingering question of trust. Would they really act on what had been shared? Lily stood beside Mia, brushing a tear from her cheek. What if they don't see how important this is? What if we're just voices in a crowd? Mia turned to her, searching for the right words. We've done everything we could. We spoke our truth, Lily. I felt it. They were listening. But doubt gnawed at the edges of Mia's mind. She wondered if they had been strong enough, if their story had been compelling enough to change hearts that seemed entrenched in cold calculations. Would the numbers matter more than their lives? Suddenly, a loud clap echoed through the hall, drawing attention. It was Mr. Thompson, raising his hands like a conductor rallying an orchestra. I know the tension is thick right now, so I want to affirm something. We have made a significant impact today. The representatives may need some time, but what is truly important is what we have done together. His words ignited fresh energy. Laughter bubbled up again, reassuring laughter. Mia felt a warmth blooming within her. Mr. Thompson had that knack for lifting spirits. This was their community spirit. This was the essence of who they were. Then, as the representatives conferred in hushed tones, a chill crept into the air. The initial excitement began to fade into a tense silence. Mia's heart raced. A thought struck her, nagging at her with urgency. What if they had to prepare in case things didn't go as planned? What if they needed a backup plan? Just as she contemplated this, the lead representative cleared his throat, his severe expression softening slightly. We genuinely appreciate the stories you've shared today. This community represents something bigger, something that resonates beyond mere profit. We want to collaborate, but we need more time to delve into the specifics. Mia's breath hitched. Collaboration? She echoed softly. Yes, he continued. This isn't just about dollars and cents. We recognize the human element, and we want to explore how we can work together moving forward. A wave of disbelief washed over the gathered group. Could it be true? Had their stories ignited a flame of change? The room filled with cautious hope. They were all whispering now, each person hungry to know what the next steps could be. But just as hope began to blossom like wildflowers after a long winter, another voice rang out, cutting through the hum that a different representative rose, their face serious. We need to ensure that the implementation of any new partnerships truly benefits the community and reflects the stories we've heard today. We will require transparency. Mia's heart sank again. Did they not understand? This was about more than just numbers or contracts. It was about their lives. She took a deep breath, the weight of their reality heavy on her shoulders. We're not just asking for transparency, we're demanding it. We want our voices included in every decision. We need to be part of the process. It's the only way we move forward. The room quieted as her words hung in the air, heavy and profound. She could see a mix of surprise and admiration in the eyes around her. This was her moment. This was where she could forge the path ahead. The representatives nodded slowly. Yet again, uncertainty loomed. Would they be ready for the challenge of true collaboration? Could they trust Mia and her friends to guide them in understanding their community? This was only the beginning. Whatever decision came next could change everything. For them. Mia felt a swell of energy. They were standing at the brink of something incredible or perhaps something frightening. But what was certain was that they would fight for their lives, together. And as she gazed around the room, a new determination ignited. The question that lingered now was clear. Could they navigate the complexity of partnership and ensure that their stories remained at the forefront? As the days rolled on after the meeting, the tension in the town melted into a cautious optimism. The representatives had promised to return and discuss collaboration, and Mia felt a flicker of hope each time the sun rose. Each morning was now a blend of work and preparation. Her community was rallying together, every conversation buzzing with the spirit of shared purpose. In the diner, the familiar faces that had once seemed beleaguered now sparkled with renewed vigor. Mia watched as Mr. Thompson scribbled plans for the upcoming festival on a napkin, while Mrs. Reynolds organized a storytelling booth, gathering memories that would showcase their joint history. Hope hung in the air like steam rising from freshly brewed coffee. Mia found herself reflecting on the whirlwind of emotions that had brought them all here. She thought of every hand that had contributed to the banners and signs they created, showcasing their dedication and love for their community. They were doing this for more than just a job. They were fighting for the heartbeat of their town. One evening, under the antique dim lights of the diner, Mia gathered her friends, each a pillar of strength in their own right. As she gazed at their animated faces, she realized how far they'd come together. "We can't forget why we're doing this," she said, her heart swelling with pride. "This festival will not only show our talents, it'll tell our stories. It'll remind the representatives of the lives behind the numbers." Everyone nodded eagerly. The night became a tapestry of laughter, planning, and dreams laid bare. Their spirits intertwined like the threads of the community fabric they were fighting to protect. The festival. The energy was electric. Families poured in, adorned in colorful attire, laughter emanating like music. Vendors displayed local crafts, showcasing the diverse talents. Mia stood with her children, watching them whirl around stalls with radiant smiles. The sunlight cascaded down, illuminating the faces of her neighbors, joy and creativity sparkling in the air. Students performed plays that highlighted factory tales, former workers shared heartfelt testimonials, and artisans showcased their masterpieces. It was more than a celebration. It was a declaration of resilience. As the evening wore on, the representatives arrived. Their presence met with mixed emotions from the crowd. Mia felt a mix of fear and determination course through her. This was their moment to connect world's corporate interests and community spirit. Gathering her strength, she approached the group, Ginny and Mr. Thompson flanking her. "Thank you for coming. We want you to see who we are," she said, her voice steady but laden with emotion. As every story unfolded, the representatives began taking notes, their skepticism cracking just enough for a glimpse of understanding. Their laughter, tears, and memories breathed life back into the group that had felt so silenced before. Mia's heart raced as she recognized the shift a connection was forming, one built on mutual respect and understanding. Finally, as the night reached its peak, she stood before the crowd, her voice rising above the melody of conversation. "This isn't just about preserving jobs. It's about our future. We want to be part of the conversation every step of the way." The crowd erupted in applause, energy buzzing through the space. In that moment, she could feel the tides turning. Slowly, the lead representative stepped forward, a hint of a smile breaking across their face. "We've heard you, and we want to build a partnership that includes your voices as we move forward." The air exploded with joy, cheers mixing with the sound of 1,000 hearts lifting together in hope. Mia felt tears prickle her eyes as she glanced around. They had done it. Together, they had forged something powerful. The representatives pledged to create a committee made up of both community members and factory leaders. This was it, the bridge they had fought for was finally becoming reality. As the festivities continued, bursts of laughter flowed, the vibrancy of their unity illuminating the night sky. Mia held her children close, a radiant smile spreading across her face. For the first time in what felt like forever, she breathed easy. They were not just gossip or numbers anymore. They were a community. They had built a foundation that could withstand storms, drawing strength from their shared histories and dreams. The sun finally began to dip below the horizon, bathing them in a warm orange glow, a symbol of hope and a new beginning. As they laughed and connected late into the night, Mia whispered a silent promise that this was just the start. Together, they would continue to create a future where their voices mattered. This was their moment, their victory, not just for today, but for the countless tomorrows they would build together. Now, don't just sit there. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm. I want to hear from you in the comments. Share your reactions and feelings about this ending. Plus, don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. This is the moment to show your support.